We are live for Tuesday, May 17th slate. We got a fun slate, a lot of DFS action here, a big slate with some pretty trash pitching. I'll be honest, man, the pitching is not looking so good, Dave. But how do you feel about this Tuesday? Do we have a real ace? We typically start this show, ace of the slate. You got one here. I don't know if he's an ace or not, but it's tough sledding to find a true ace on Tuesday. So what you thinking, man?
Yeah, the first one, pops out is Lucas Giolito. I mean, at 8,500, but will he play? He's coming off a little COVID situation. He's slated to start Tuesday's game, the second the second game of the doubleheader. Hopefully he goes. If he is, I'll love to plug him in. 37 Ks, 26 innings. He's just a monster when it comes to DFS points. But if it's not him, I breathe when I say this. Jameson Taillon from the New York Yankees. It's the matchup, right? He's got the Baltimore Orioles. Severino had a nice game against them on Monday. So, rolling forward here, Taillon has developed a cutter. He hasn't thrown it much in his past, but this year he's thrown it 14%. Batters are hitting under 200 against it. He's effective this year. It's the Orioles, 2.94 ERA, 3.23 FIP. So it's kind of real stuff that he's relating to. I breathe again, but that's who I would go with.
Listen, man, Giolito is the right call. Don't feel bad about Giolito. I think he is the best value of the slate when it comes to pitching. And any day of the week, like even on Monday, I rock Kikuchi at a right price in a good matchup for Seattle. And then I threw out a wild card. I said it on Sirius. I said it on our show for Monday. I said, look, Wade Miley at 4,400. You really don't need much there. And he went out there and he might have scored more points than anybody on the entire slate. So it's more matchup driven. Severino had a good game as well, but more matchup driven. Look, these are the offenses when you see them on the slate, you got to think twice about pitching against them because even if it's not the top end starter, you got Baltimore, who's pretty bad. You got Pittsburgh, pretty bad. Cincinnati, pretty bad. Arizona, pretty bad. Detroit, pretty bad. Like those five teams, like I'm willing to start, okay average pitchers or maybe not even so good pitchers against those teams. And remember, it's a dead ball era right now. I see way more ERAs under 2 than I see, batting averages over 300. So I'll take the risk on some cheap pitching. Look, Taillon makes some sense. He's probably outside of Giolito, the safest guy on the slate. Doesn't really have that K upside. But if he gets you within 15 to 20, I think you're good. I thought you were going to say Gilbert. Look, Kikuchi pitched good for Toronto. Flexen got there. Toronto does strike out. They're not as hot as they were when they first started the season. I never really want to target him. Gilbert is in play. I wouldn't rule him out of my player pool if I'm building, 150 lineups. But in my optimal lineup, I'm probably going to go with Giolito as my lock. And then I got to decide between maybe some Taillon, maybe some Eovaldi, but I really don't want to target Houston. And I want to get your thoughts and tell me how crazy I am. Bundy versus Oakland. Oakland's another offense where I will dabble and pitch against them because I don't think they're that strong at this point of the season. So thoughts on Bundy versus Oakland here?
Yeah, I mean, Bundy's coming off just a bomb. But after that, he's had 2 bad starts in a row. But before that, he was balling a little bit. And you're right. I like to attack Oakland too. They are last place in the AL West, and they just can't seem to get out of their own way right now. In that stadium too, it is on the road, big ballpark. So if you're going to play Bundy somewhere, I kind of like where you're at. Oakland doesn't hit homers. They're in the bottom third of the league in homers too. So Bundy's kind of, one of the things he tends to do. He's let up 4 homers in his past 2 games. If he can keep the ball in the park, I think it's a nice little, low, probably projected ownership play too.
Yeah, interesting play here on Reed Detmers. The guy goes out, pitches a no-hitter versus Tampa Bay. A lot of people are going to tell you, look, coming off the high of a no-hitter, it's a letdown spot for him. Noah Syndergaard, who was a guy that I like. I like 6 pitchers on Monday. Syndergaard was the one I had a lot of shares of as well. He got blown up, didn't even make it through the first inning. Now, Detmers here, lefty going against Texas, off a big start. He's not a high K guy. So I'm fading him, not because, he might be popular at 7,600, not because he threw a no-hitter last week just because he's not a K type of, 25% or better type of guy here. Texas, they're battling here. I'm staying away here. He worries me a bit at 7,600. My gut says stay away. Detmers, your thoughts on Detmers in the mint range, though?
I agree. I got to stay away. That no hitter was odd. I think Tampa might have had 4 balls that had a expected batting average over 500 in a game. One was a 960, like would get hit 96% of the time, but they caught it. And so 2 Ks in that no hitter. Look, anybody pitches a no, great. Even those Cincinnati Reds can pitch a no hitter and lose. But yeah, I'm with you. Texas is actually starting to find their way a little bit. I was on Syndergaard tonight. I did like Syndergaard, but they're starting to string together some at bats here. They scored 7 runs just yesterday, and today they have, or not today, Monday. I'm sorry, they have 6. So looking at going forward here, I think we do want to fade this matchup, and I think he'll get highly owned, like you said, coming off that momentum.
Yeah, so pitching is pretty damn ugly. Again, lock up Giolito. Even though he's popular, I think he's the safest bet at 8,500 going against Kansas City. I like Bundy in a bounce back spot, 8,500 as well. Look, if they don't have the best game, but they get you 10 to 15 each, maybe one of them goes out there, gets 20 plus, you're in a good spot here. Evaldi, playable. Tyon, I think, is safe as well against Baltimore. And Gilbert, it's kind of boomer bust, man. Toronto hasn't been hitting, so I think he should be in your player pool as well. Hauser, not that price tag for me. I don't know if you like him. And you got Cobb here. I don't know if you want to talk about him a bit in Colorado. There might be a little bit of upside here, but Coors Field is always a stay away spot. Thoughts on Cobb, potentially low ownership with some upside against a Colorado team that hasn't really been hitting much?
Yeah, I like Cobb. And, he's always a guy that, can put you up, a solid outing. Probably hasn't gone deep in the games much this year. I think his longest outing is 6 innings. No, it's 5 1/3. So he just hasn't been able to stretch it out as much as, we'd like to see from a DFS perspective. But Colorado, I think it is an interesting option to punch against Colorado. It's usually lefties that I try and avoid with Colorado, as they got Crone, the NL leader in home runs. Joe's a good right-handed hitter. But you throw a right-handed pitcher against them. We saw some teams, especially the Phillies, had Colorado in here, did a 4-game sweep. Nolan and Wheeler both pitched really good against them. Power righties got a chance. I like Cobb as a lower end kind of guy. I'll probably play him in 20% of my lineups, but I like him probably as my 4 or 5 guy that I'll mix in for sure.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. He could do it. The only thing worries me a little bit with Cobb, his pitch count, and like you said, innings, he hasn't exceeded 85 pitches in any start, and his last start was 85. So they're holding him back. He has some injuries in the past that, kind of stunted his career from really blossoming. So Cobb is pretty much off the radar for me, but if I'm building 150, I'll have him in maybe 10, 15, 20% of my lineups at maximum. But it is a tough pitching slate. So because of that, there's going to be a couple stacks that we do like. We do like the Giants bouncing back, going against Chad Kuhl in Colorado. I think both sides are in play in Colorado. I lean the Giants again in a bounce back spot. The Yankees, whenever I don't play them, Dave, they go out there, hit home runs. Whenever I do play them, they bust on me. So I guess that's the curse of being a Met fan. Then we got the Angels in a good spot again. We got the Dodgers, which I think might be in the best spot. Caleb Smith used to be a prospect, but he's really struggled so far out the gate this year for Arizona. So I really like that. And then you got Milwaukee against Atlanta, which will be throwing a bullpen game at the Brewers here. So Brewers, Dodgers, Giants, and Angels are the teams I like. So I can never get the Yankees right. And the White Sox you got written down as well. Thoughts on these teams? How do you rank them? How do you target them? And what side of the plates do you want from these bats?
Yeah, so I definitely like the Yankees. Last week we talked about it. Spencer Watkins is just a guy that doesn't strike out many people. His FIP and his advanced metrics are showing he's been getting a little lucky, a low batting average of balls in play, and it really caught up to him in St. Louis. You're right. There's always this risk. You feel like it's layups against the Baltimore Orioles, and for some reason, Zimmerman shut him down this year. And I mean, so it is a tough to project because it's going to be a heavily favored stack. I still like them. I'll still play them, especially Stanton. Stanton's had Multi hit games 5 out of his last 7. Monday, he had another good game. So I do like the Yankees. But with you, I think if I was going to go second, it's Dodgers. That bullpen Arizona, Arizona leads the league, I think, in starting pitching ERA, or they're second. They're right there when you throw out Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen. They've been really good with the starters, but the bullpen has been susceptible. So you throw a bullpen game, I think they have a doubleheader today. So looking at it, I do like the Dodgers to hit very well. They hit well in the Phillies series, even though they only won 1 game. Mookie Betts has come around, had 2 homers in that series. So, yeah, I think the Dodgers are my second one. White Sox, I'm still tempted. John Heasley pitched only 1 game so far this year, and he only got into the 4th, let up 4 runs against Texas. So I think he's a guy we can attack. And I think the White Sox are still a team that's, Abreu's been on just a horrendous slump. But Luis Robert, he's on an 11-game hitting streak. So, there are some guys. Grandal hit a homer on Monday, only his second of the season. So some guys are heating up. Anderson's still a very good bat at the top of the lineup he hits well for average and gets you a lot of DFS points.
Yeah, so for value on the slate, the guy that I'm gonna pencil in got to be under 3K. I'm not saying he's gonna hit a home run, but Aaron Hicks, 2,800 for the Yankees, should be starting. Switch hitter, started out the gate super hot. He's been cold as of late, but he got a hit on Monday, so I'm hoping he can come through on Tuesday at 2,800. Gallo's cheap too. Got 2 guys that can hit a home run for the Yankees, both in good spots. We don't have that same value in Colorado as we did last game, but there is still value out there. Look, Wade is still 3,100. Yastrzemski's 3,300. I know it's above, what we like to call our value play today, but there's still some cheap bats out there in San Francisco going against Colorado. So there's value to be had there. The Dodgers are expensive, so we really can't, hit on them. Angels, crazy expensive. I don't know how Taylor Ward is, creeping up there with Mike Trout and Ohtani, but the guy's hitting his balls off right now. Like, he's just getting on base every single at bat. So there's a reason why he's expensive. What are your favorite value plays of the slate, though, Dave?
Yeah, and when we talked about it earlier, Texas has been hitting a little bit, and the guy at the top of that lineup that really generates it all so lately has been Eli White, and he's still sitting there at 2,300. The guy's played 24 games, 8 stolen bases, had another good game Monday night, 2 for 3, knocked in a couple runs. He's putting up points lately. He's batted in 5 of his last 7. And like we said, at the top of that lineup, you're going to get 4 at bats, maybe 5, depending on how the rest of the team does. So you're getting a number 1 hitter at 2,300 on a team that we expect to probably, hit early, not let Reed Detmers go deep into the game with a no-hitter. I still like Eli White. One other one I'll look at is Andrelton Simons. He just came back and started for the Cubs, and you got Brubaker. Simons played his first game. He's only 2,000 at shortstop. Had a hit tonight, or Monday. So we'll see. Simons at 2,000 could be really, a nice value.
There you go. And make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss this show. You don't miss our golf show. Tony and Adam are going to be doing shows this week as well. And check us out at windailysports.com. We have lineup optimizer, projection models, tons of content right now for the NBA, MLB, NPGA, and NASCAR, and UFC. And go download the Sharp app as well. For all your sports betting needs, we have the best lines, shopping lines on prop, shopping lines at every single sports book in your state. Along with that, we have an AI prediction model who's been crushing. This computer's been crushing the NBA playoffs. Call the Mavericks on all these games that they won. So they're on to something there at the Sharp app. So make sure you go download that Sharp app as well. Now, Dave, I got super excited on Monday. Look, I wanted to bet kind of against my Mets. And I saw a prop that made a lot of sense to me. So I ran a train on Miles Mikolas over 4 strikeouts, over 5, over 6, and over 7. So all I need is 4 or more, and I win my biggest bet, which was plus 102. 5 or more was plus 240. 6 or more, plus 560. 7 or more, plus 1,000. If those lines are the same when the props come out on Mikolas, I might even get a softer lineup, being that it's going to be a doubleheader against the Mets. I'm going to load up even bigger on Tuesday. So waiting for those props to come out. When they come out, I'll post it on Twitter at Win Daily Sports are going to ride the same bet again, on Tuesday, depending on what game, Mikolas pitches in the doubleheader. But it's all systems go if he's pitching whichever game, and I'm going to load up on those K props. But what are your bets of the day?
Yeah, he was my favorite on Monday. I think his style of pitching does really, combat that Mets offense. So I like your bets there. I mean, the Mets could still somehow win the game and he could pitch well. So I do like those bets. I think Mikolas has been a guy, he's just been consistent all season. On today, look at Dylan Cease. He's only gone under his K prop once. He had a tough game versus the Yankees in his last outing and still struck out 12. Lit up 6 runs. If his K prop settles in, we're waiting to see it come out. If it settles in at 7.5, he pitched against Kansas City just a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, had 9 Ks. So I will look to plug him in. If it's 7.5, 8.5, I'm going to have to see what the number is. We're also going to look at McClanahan versus Detroit. You mentioned earlier, Detroit's one of the bottom 5 teams. McClanahan threw 11 Ks last time out against Los Angeles Angels. So if that's in the 7.5 range, also look to pounce on that. And one other one, I do like the Guardians. We were able to get that line earlier today, minus 150 when they play the Reds. Connor Overton's pitching for the Reds. Not much there to choose off of. He's pitched 3 games this year. 1 Colorado, but 2 Pittsburgh. So you're seeing a guy with a 1.59 ERA that's really projected out to 4 when you look in the FIP world. I think he's been, 4.29 K per 9, 12% K rate, all things that we like to attack. And the Guardians are just a really, really good hitting team. I think, the Reds, it's hard to come off, hit a team and lose. And I just think the energy's not there. They had won 6 out of the past 12, but that one's going to sting, and I think the Guardians can attack Overton.
Yeah, that team is struggling. Tony went out and had some plus money bets. We posted our bets on Sirius on Sunday. He hit the Tigers at plus money against the Rays. Nice. And also took the favorite in the Brewers and backed Peralta, and you got to win there. So he was 2-0. Let's keep this hot streak going. Let's go with the Mikolas bets. Let's go with your bets with McClanahan and the Guardians. Tough saying the Guardians. I always want to say the Indians, but I got the Guardians out the right way. Make sure you subscribe to our show. Like, comment. If you have any questions, hit us up on Twitter at Win Daily Sports. Hit us up, windailysports.com. Free memberships, content, a ton of good content there, and a ton of free content over at the Sharp app. So go download the Sharp app as well. We'll be back on a Wednesday to carry you to more DFS success and profit at the sports. But we want to turn your love of sports into a profit center on Win Daily Sports. We'll be back on Wednesday. Everybody have a good rest of your day.